Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is the Deep Dive, and that's Dave.
It is, and that's Nick.
That's right. Hey, you got it. Good job. I'm proud of you.
Here we are again.
Yes, here we are again. And you might look at our outfits and realize that we have the same outfits we had on last time. Why is that, Dave?
We just don't have many clothes.
That's right.
No, I think we need to be honest and upfront about what's going on. We've never done this. I think this is 202 or 203. We've never done what we're about to do. Well, you'll have to let us know how you think it went. This time next week, Nick will be on the youth mission trip.
That's right.
I think as we discussed in the last podcast, they're leaving right after church to go on that. So we're going to attempt to do a podcast, a deep dive on a sermon that I haven't finished yet.
That's right. We're doing the before work this time.
And so we'll have to see how it goes. I think we can talk about at least the part of the scripture that I'm going to be talking about. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to turn out, but we're getting there close. It's Wednesday.
Still won't see this until after the sermon has been preached. But
that's just right. Yeah, this is Wednesday before I will preach this on Sunday, and so I have begun on the sermon, but not quite.
Maybe not fine tuned.
It's not fine tuned yet, but we'll see, and we'll give this a try. You ready?
I'm ready to dive into it. Let's do this.
All right, let's go.
It is kind of interesting thinking about the fact that we're a little bit in the future right now, right?
Yeah.
So I have a question for you to kind of start this off.
Okay, I can't wait.
If you could tell your past self something, what would you tell yourself? Like if you could go back to your high school days or your college days or yourself 5 years ago, what's something you would tell yourself?
I think it might be to give myself grace, not be so hard on myself. This too shall pass. Those kinds of things.
Not invest in Bitcoin or anything like that?
No, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Yeah. What was that? The Back to the Future, when they got that sports journal and was able to do all the bets on the sports. Yeah. Well...
That's few things you could gain from.
But yeah, I mean, I've had a similar question with that, and I think that just this too shall pass. I mean, I guess maybe if I was in school, high school self, maybe study harder.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of happy where you are,
why change anything?
Why change things? And some of the lessons. Wow, this is what this actually sets up what we're going to get into here in a minute. You have to learn, and sometimes the way that you learn is by your mistakes. Yeah. And even if people were to tell you, sort of cautionary tales about it, you still don't listen. Yeah. You still don't listen until, you've been through it yourself. How about you? What would you say?
Oh, I was going to go the fun route and probably
okay.
Buy the Pokemon card boxes and don't touch them for years. Because I do think I've been reading recently, you could used to be able to buy a box of the original Pokemon cards as they came out for $300, and now that same thing is $80,000 or something.
Okay, let me ask you a question about that, because I've seen that kind of stuff before. Yeah. Who is paying $80,000? I see that on coins and stuff. I'm like, this coin, this Buffalo nickel is worth $600 or something. Yeah. But who's paying you $600? I mean, if you can get it, but I mean, are there people actually shelling out $80,000? Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, okay. In all of these things, the market is not as wide for people, but there are collectors who are trying to complete sets of coins, of decks, of cards, of stuff like that will start paying big money, and anything that becomes scarce and rare and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess everything is sort of scalable. I look at stuff that I spend my money on, probably frivolously, but that seems like some people have way too much money.
I think that's 100% the case.
Yeah. $80,000, I could feed kids in Kenya for a month, or I could
buy 2 cars for your household.
So I don't know. I mean, that sounds judgmental, but because everything's scalable, and I know I fritter away money as well. But
Yeah.
That seems ridiculous to me.
Supply and demand, I guess, is one of those things. But anyway, we are here in our 5th week of Jeremiah. And, as we said at the top, this is actually, we're kind of recording before the sermon's preached. So I think it'll be actually very interesting to kind of hear some of your thoughts and all that stuff on this. So,
all right. So
where are we going?
Yeah. So let's try it this way. So last week, we had to catch up from chapter 7 to chapter 20.
Right.
All right, so we're not going that much further today. We're going from 20 to 29. Most of the texts that I will read on Sunday or that I read on Sunday will be there. In fact, I'm going to read part of it here this morning as well. So what happens there in those next? And so also understand that there's a passing of time. Mm-hmm. So from 20 to 29, best I can tell, it's probably 10 to 15 years later. Okay. So he's continuing to preach that. But then things about midway through, like chapter 24 or something, if you're reading along, things begin to get bad. And a lot of stuff that he's prophesied begins to take place. So Nebuchadnezzar, a great biblical name. Can you spell Nebuchadnezzar? I'm not going to test you.
Probably not. Yeah. But I would give it a good college try. But
that's a great biblical name, Nebuchadnezzar.
Oh, yeah.
So Nebuchadnezzar is, the king up in Babylon. And he starts taking over, Judah, Jerusalem, that sort of things. And so there's a couple of conflicts. The Jewish king or the king of the southern kingdom at that time is a guy named King Jehoiakim, which is another great biblical name. He dies in the conflict. His son, Jehoiachin, reigns for only about 3 months. But the Babylonians are too much for them. And so they place sort of the Babylonians kind of place this guy named Zedekiah. And Zedekiah is going to come back up in later weeks, but I'm just going to mention that they do have a king at the time for the people, the remnant that slept there. But they then haul off into Babylonian captivity a bunch of people. And at first the people who go is the king, the royal officials, the skilled workers, the craftsmen, and many other leaders are the first people they pull into exile. There's going to be a couple of other times where they're going to be, taking people into exile. But this is the first major deportation into Babylon. So dark time, bad time for them. Oh, by the way, a couple of the people that are either in this one or the next one when they're taking people away. Yeah. 2 people you've heard before, Ezekiel and Daniel. Are part of these people that are exiled. Okay. And so, then, of course, they get their own chapter, their own book to talk about that. And so, then we get down to where the text is for today. And so Jeremiah is writing a letter to those in exile. And in it, he says some things in keeping with his theme throughout it, some things they don't want to hear. He's encouraging.
Classic.
And I'm going to read it to you. Or parts of it. Yeah. He is encouraging, but not encouraging in the way that they wanted to be encouraged. Because they had these false prophets who were saying, hey, this is just a bump in the road. This is just going to be a few months. God's going to come in and we're going to get to go back home. So it's okay. Hang in there, everybody. This is going to be over soon. Yeah. Now, this is just temporary. And Jeremiah says, no.
We here for a while.
It's not temporary. You might as well settle down. Yeah. Okay? They've been hearing from the false prophets. It's going to be quick victory, quick restoration, and national revival after that. And he says, no. Judgment is coming first. So let me read some of that text because I think since we're doing this kind of cold and blind today, it'd be good to hear. Yeah. So this is what he says to them. He says, build houses and settle down. Plant gardens and eat what they produce. Marry and have sons and daughters. Find wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, so that they too may have sons and daughters. Increase in numbers there and do not decrease. So keep doing what you're doing. Have kids, okay? Because you're going to be there. Life. You're going to be there a while.
Yeah, settle down, settle in.
And there's going to need to be more of you. Yeah. So also seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I've carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. And so, then he goes on and he talks about, don't listen to those false prophets, because you're going to be here for 70 years. Yeah. God's going to be doing a work on you for 70 years. And then it's interesting, in the last podcast, you mentioned this exact verse.
Yeah.
Then he gets to the classic verse. If people know one verse from Jeremiah,
this is it.
This is the verse that they know.
Yeah.
You've seen it on coffee mugs. You've heard it read at graduation.
Every graduation, yeah.
You've heard these things. So it's important. We can take it there as well. But understanding in the context.
Yeah.
This is the context of where that is said. He says, this is what the Lord says. When 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my good promise to bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back from captivity. I will gather you from all the nations and places where I have banished you, declared the Lord, and will bring you back to this place where I carried you into exile. So what do you think about that?
It's like I laugh because it stops, on the mugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Plans to prosper, not to harm, and then it's like done, and you're like, But then it talks about, but I'll bring you back from exile. And, it's like all these years, like we're talking 70 years. Is that what it said? Like there's this time frame of stuff where it might not be as easy as that, but it's kind of like the promise to like lean into and
There's
rely on.
still truth there, but the truth in the context, I think, is powerful as well.
Yeah.
Because those graduates, those people that are having their coffee every day with that mug, they are going to have hard times. And sometimes it's going to be a long time. One of the things that he's saying there, I mean, it's implied, I don't think he says it exactly, is there are people there in exile that will not be coming back because they will pass away before that happens.
Yeah.
So this is all they're going to know. There's more to it. I don't want to lessen and I don't want to sound judgmental about people, but if this is your life verse, you really should dig into the context of it, because I think it's a great life verse to have.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean, sometimes we sort of present it as God has this wonderful plan for your life. God does have a wonderful plan for your life.
Yep.
But it does involve sometimes testing and trial and hardship. Sometimes we present it as everything is going to work out. Well, everything is going to work out,
right.
But it's not going to be instantaneous.
Right.
It's going to take some time. And here's another important truth. You need to be learning what God is trying to teach you during this exile.
Yeah.
What God is doing. And you need to be able to see God at work in this difficult season that you're going through. The problem is not that the verse is hopeful.
Yeah.
The problem is that we often remove it from its context, right?
I think the word harm in it is where a lot of people get stuck, because, we think of harm as just like anything bad that could happen to us. And, I think maybe even in the context here, it's probably saying like, yeah, I'll keep you alive. You know what I mean? Like, but my plan's not to harm you. Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm sure there are people, and people, still today, people will use this interpretation that God is causing the harm that's happening in his life.
Right.
God's not causing the harm.
Exactly.
They caused the harm themselves, those people. They didn't listen to Jeremiah. That's where the harm came from. His plans were not to harm them.
Yeah.
His plans are to restore them, it's, even in painful, uncertain, and unwanted season, God has not abandoned you people.
Yeah.
He's still working towards redemption and hope. This wasn't his ultimate choice, but this is the way, because they had freedom of choice. This is what they chose. And now God's still there with them, and God's still working with them. But, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah.
Do you think, if we were to relate it to a time like now for us, where a lot of us are kind of planting our roots, diving into this community, having families who will hopefully have families and stuff like that, what does this still tell us today, do you think?
I think be planted, bloom where you're planted.
Yeah.
If there was like one sentence you could say about what he is saying to them is bloom where you're planted, thrive where you're planted. You are in this season right now. So he said, pray for this country that has exiled you, and that you're there kind of in slavery and all that kind of stuff. Pray for them and do the best you can in that circumstance, in that situation. So where you might find yourself, if you're in a difficult situation, is, trusting God for each step of the way, and not realizing that sometimes, there's going to be uneasy and hard days, that God is still present in the exile. God has not abandoned you in exile. God is still present. And his purposes are bigger and slower. Bigger than you can imagine, but slower than you want.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take time.
Yeah.
This didn't happen overnight, and this isn't going to be undone overnight. And so faithfulness is sometimes going to mean learning to live, serve, and trust God in this difficult season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how you said kind of like it could last a while, because it kind of reminds you back to that verse where it talks about, we're kind of running this marathon, we're running this long race. It's not just this sprint to our finish lines. It's this like consistent pacing of life, and how we kind of keep working towards something. And even if it doesn't instantaneously happen for us, doesn't mean that we're not building towards that.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I don't know if we talked about this in podcast or not. I think you talked about it in the leadership meeting. I'm trying to think where I've heard you repeat. But in staff meeting, I spent some time, and then we all talked about it. That, like, we're in a really good time in the church right now. We're in a very fruitful season. There's a lot of good things happening. It's very easy for us to get content in that and think, first of all, that we're causing it. God is using us, in that. But to enjoy these days and remember them, because there will be difficult days again. That's just the nature of life. That's just the nature of faith. There's going to be some other difficult things. We're going to have losses along the way, and so learning to trust God in all of those seasons. And so and not have hope just be based on circumstances. That's a human thing. I do it. It feels very hopeful right now, but it's on the circumstances. We can still, if we can have hope when circumstances aren't as cheery and as good as they are now, I think that's true biblical hope.
Yeah, and if there's, being in our positions of pastor and executive pastor, I think if that's something I could even say about our staff overall, is that even in some of the trials and stuff that we've gone through, we talked about COVID last time, disaffiliation, just other things that have kind of come up along the way, is the staff has done a really good job of kind of, for lack of better words, putting their head down and just continuing to be about the mission of the church and trying to keep it together.
Yeah, yes, definitely. We have a wonderful staff.
Yeah.
A wonderful staff. But, when those times come where we can learn going through the fire, we just need to remember the good days, I think, as well. And I have every confidence that we'll walk through whatever, comes before us.
For sure.
But it's, we can't base our hope on the circumstances.
That's right.
We should enjoy them when they're good and look for the other words. In other words, there's, and we've talked about this before too, prosperity theology, which is everywhere.
Yeah.
But this is not prosperity theology. This is perseverance theology. And there's a difference that we persevere in the good times and the bad times. And so, it's good. So, we've had this sort of introduction to at least the biblical part of the sermon I'll be preaching on Sunday. And so think about it this afternoon and give me ideas for illustrations.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Because we're in the future now, but
that's right.
But as people listen to this, it's the future. But I still got the sermon coming up on Sunday. So this is sort of the biblical basis for where we're headed on Sunday.
Yeah, it'll be kind of fun that you can kind of you'll see kind of how the process evolves for Dave a little bit too. So you can kind of follow along the journey a little bit of how you go from kind of having this overall idea, putting some thoughts on paper, then bringing it all together. It is interesting.
One thing, and I would say about this is this. This is it's been fun and interesting. Fun. It has been rewarding. I've enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
And fun would be but I know these are not cheery, fun, bumper sticker, coffee mug slogan kind of sermons. You know, this Jeremiah, and I think I probably need to do more about paying attention to some of the prophets and some of the more difficult parts of Scripture that we need to hear, because I think they can inform our lives and help us to be kind of fully committed Christians in good times and dark times, and persevere through it all.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it might not be bumper sticker type sermon where it's like super cheery and super happy the whole time, but I think it was the last podcast we used the word authenticity, and I think that is so important as we all walk through our faith journey, is to understand the authenticity of how we feel as humans, but how we also work together to kind of grow in this faith, and how that journey will have those true ups and downs.
Yeah.
And I think if we don't recognize what that authentic emotions that we feel, if we don't recognize them, we get discouraged by them, and understand that they're all part of the process. It is okay to feel hurt. It is okay to feel shame and doubt at times. Almost every person that we read down in the Bible feels these things at certain times, and we need to understand and recognize that it's not just about going, praise God and everything. Sure, yeah, that you want to, but sometimes it doesn't feel that easy to. And we have to recognize those times and not look at ourselves as less Christians when we're in those spaces.
Our biblical heroes, and we call them our biblical heroes, they're people, first of all, they're oftentimes flawed people.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time flawed people. But yet we see that in the words. We see that in the text. And that should be instructive for us. And that, we need to trust God, and through the seasons, trust God's forgiveness in times where we fall, and not try to cover it up, but be open about it, as David and others were, because God can work with that.
Yeah,
God can work with authentic people.
Absolutely.
It's more difficult for proud, haughty people who think they have it all together, and that was the problem that Jeremiah is addressing. He has a bunch of people who think they know everything. They've got God figured out, and how God and the temple and all that works out, and they're wrong, and they don't want to listen to it, because there are other messages out there that will tell them the things they want to hear, and not listen to the one that is really telling them the truth.
Yeah.
And being merciful to them by telling them the truth. They don't want to hear that, and so they demonize him, and but we get on this side of the history of that, and see that this was a really, really faithful servant of God, that, is why we call him one of the great prophets, even though, as we said, I think last podcast too, that, if it was happening today, you would not see him at the big conferences speaking, because he had no successes in today's terms to point to, except being authentic, being faithful to God, and staying in there and delivering the message God brought him to give.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It's good. It's good. All right, Dave. Well, we did it. We knocked out 2 in one day.
Yeah, we did.
one in the present, one in the future. And I think it's really good. And I don't know. I thought it was kind of fun, kind of doing a preview, a preview one. That, I mean, you won't see it as a preview. You'll see it after the sermon. But I think for us coming into these, sometimes we are like, oh, we know where it's going, and this kind of was fun to kind of go like, oh, where's this conversation going to take us a little bit?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, guys, again, as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for consistently tuning in. Yeah, like Dave said, 202, 3, 4, somewhere in that range. We're
over 200.
Over 200 plus. And you guys have been with us through a lot of it. So thank you for being there and always watching. If you want to be a part of that conversation, drop it in the Facebook, YouTube, and the comment section below. And Dave, anything at the end?
Nope. God bless.
God bless you guys.
See you
and we'll
Sunday.
catch you guys next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.